All right, sweet Flatline MMA podcast episode number 78. After a couple week hiatus, the boys are back. And what better fight card to give reactions to than UFC 264? Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, the trilogy. First fight back in the T-Mobile Arena with full fans. We knew this was going to be nuts. We knew the place was going to be rocking. Vegas was nuts. The most celebrities in attendance. It was just overall amazing night of fights. So just kind of want to touch upon a few of the good ones in the earlier stages. Specifically, we had in the early prelims, I think everyone saw it. Jessica Eye, Jennifer Maia, Jessica Eye just opening up a third eye on her head. And I'll give it to her. I think she gets a lot of crap for her fights and the way she talks and, just kind of her overall fight style. But man, how tough do you have to be to just have that massive gash over your head, take shots to it for, what was it, a round and a half probably, and continue to come forward. And I give her all the credit in the world for fighting like that. Question to you though, were you surprised they didn't stop the fight after seeing like what they've done to Nate Diaz in the past and a lot of other fighters? I know it's a different commission. I know what happened to Nate Diaz was in New York. But this was one of the biggest gashes I've ever seen in my life. Were you surprised they didn't stop this?
Yeah, I mean, if they were to stop it at all, I would have thought it would have been, right when it happened in the second round when she was completely covered in blood. I mean, it was pouring into both of her eyes. It was all over Jennifer Maia too. But they packed the thing with a ton of Vaseline, and it actually didn't bleed for a couple minutes in the third round. It started back up towards the end of the round. But I know they usually stop fights when it's preventing somebody from seeing properly, and with it being above her eyes, I could definitely see it. But the corner did a good job in the third round to pack the thing with Vaseline or whatever they did. I mean, definitely could have stopped it. It was a gigantic gash. But I couldn't believe some of the photos that came out of that after the fight. I mean, it looked like you could like almost stick your fingers in it. It was like this wide on her forehead.
It was insane. I saw one picture and I saw some white behind it. Like, I don't know whether that was her skull. Like, I have no idea. One of the nastiest gashes I've ever seen. And I agree. Like, the corner did such a good job to stop it bleeding. And I think that's what just kept it going. Because, I mean, she was just covered. I mean, Jennifer Maia had it all over her, too. Like, it was a wild scene in there. And I think Jessica Eye definitely earned some new fans. Definitely, you got to be tough as nails to be able to, sustain something like that and continue to get punched in that same spot, which I think Jennifer Maia was just throwing jabs at that thing, and it was getting bigger by the minute. So shout out Jennifer Maia, obviously dominant performance by her. So excited to see, what she can do in the flyweight division as well. I know she's a big name. I know she's gotten a shot before. So let's see if she can kind of work her way back up to that Valentina fight. Heading to the prelim card, right? That was just the early prelims, and we already had that happen. Heading to the prelim card, we had Ryan Hall, someone who we really don't see in the octagon that much. Not getting his name called a lot. He typically tears off people's limbs when he goes to the ground. So I think a lot of people are not afraid to fight him, but I think they're not his number one choice. The guy is a scary dude on the ground, taking on, I'm going to butcher this, Ilya Topuria. This guy's a beast. He was originally 10-0 in the UFC. Guy's an absolute monster. And just, my God. I mean, I don't even know what to call that. Like, I don't even know what position he had Ryan Hall in. Like, Ryan Hall was doing his Imanari roll, and he caught him, and he just went to town on his face, knocking Hall out absolutely cold. I saw a lot of this after the fight, talking about like jujitsu versus like stand up, and how this just goes to show that like just because you can have great like ground game, you got to know how the fuck to strike. What did you think of Ryan Hall in the performance? I know we were texting each other throughout the fight, being like, "What the hell is he doing? Why is he forcing that role so much?" When I know that's his thing, but what did you think about all the overall performance? And did you think it was, Ilya being that good and just positioning right, or Hall just continuing to do the same thing and being too predictable?
Yeah, I think when it comes to that discussion of grappling versus striking, what's better, it just comes down to game plan, in my opinion. Whoever is able to implement their own game plan better. And I don't, it's worked for Ryan Hall in the past, rolling into certain things. He's really good at jiu-jitsu. I definitely had the grappling advantage in this fight. But he just, you do something over and over and over again, and it doesn't work. Almost didn't work every single time he did it. It was only a matter of time before, I'm going to mess up the name too, Poirier.
Yeah.
What was going to catch him with something. And you know that's something that he was working on in camp. I'm sure he had sparring partners. He actually said it in the post-fight interview that it was a style that he was kind of used to. So, it was, I felt like it was only a matter of time. It didn't seem that Taporia was in any type of trouble of getting caught in any type of leg lock, ankle lock, anything like that. So, if Hall was able to like mix in takedowns and kind of conceal his intentions a little bit better, I think he would have had more success in the fight. But the other thing too was like there was some times where he was rolling and he would leave his head like facing Taporia. And I didn't understand that at all. I mean, I understand it in jiu-jitsu, like you can like wrestle with your feet a little bit if somebody tries to rush you or whatever. But there's punches involved. That was a really dangerous position to be in my opinion, especially when you get hammer fists and all sorts of things that could just rain down on you. So, but it was a good performance by Taporia. He got pretty crazy knockout to knock out someone on the ground like that. You don't see that too often in MMA at all. So I thought that was pretty insane.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I don't even understand like how we got him. Like, it was incredible. So, I mean, this kid's legit 11-0. Looked absolutely flawless. Like you said, he wasn't. I think when most people fight Ryan Hall, they prepare for those roles. They prepare to get their limbs ripped off, and it just doesn't work. He looked so calm, and he knew exactly what was coming, and he defended it perfectly 7, 8, 9 different times. Like, it was crazy. So, this kid's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the featherweight division. Definitely excited to see him fight next. Definitely on my radar for kind of up and comers. I'm not going to lie to you. Didn't know who this was before the fight. And he stepped up and he fought I'm not going to say Ryan Hall's the scariest dude in the featherweight division because it's full of killers, but there's not a lot of people, knocking on Dana White's door saying, I want to fight Ryan Hall for that reason. And they don't want to get their leg ripped off, which we've seen him do his whole career. So cannot wait to see what this kid can do in the rest of the division. We all know Ryan Hall's going to be back. Hopefully he can make those adjustments and, he's going to continue to climb his way up the featherweight ranks as well. Next fight, I want to talk about this one. We knew it was going to be a fun one. Welterweight match, Michel Pereira taking on Nico Price. I mean, this one was fun from start to finish. These two guys are the epitome of just psychopaths. You got Nico Price, who just refuses to quit in the octagon, and Michel Pereira, who just does some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. I mean, we had Nico Price on the ground, and he flipped on top of him. I've never seen anything like it before in my entire life. These two guys just absolutely pouring it on. Very surprised they didn't win a bonus. Very surprised because this fight was so entertaining from start to finish. Thought Nico was going to get it done, but I guess all props to Pereira for getting that decision victory. unanimous too, which, I kind of thought it was a little bit closer than that. I thought Nico was coming back towards the end. Definitely put some good pressure on Pereira in the third. But real quick, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly what I was expecting out of the fight. I knew Pereira was going to come out hot in that first round. I think everybody knew Nico was going to take some punishment first, second round, and then, as Pereira would fade, Nico would pick it up later in the second and all through the third, and that's exactly what happened. It was just a crazy pace through the whole fight. A lot of crazy, like you said, the backflip and all that. It was just a real fun fight to watch. And, you kind of felt bad for Nico. I wish he was able to get the finish in that third round. He just kind of ran out of time. But I think if that went into another round, or if it was a 5-round fight, Nico would have finished it, because Pereira looked like he was fading.
Yeah, and you got to give all props to Nico. The guy is one of the toughest human beings in that roster. The damage he takes, but his cardio is so goddamn good. He never fades in fights, right? He'll take the damage and he continues to move forward. And he presses it. Win, lose, or draw, Nico Price, again, one of the funnest dudes to watch on this roster. Literally does not give a shit. Puts his body out on the line for the fans every single fight. Obviously, you got to give it up to Pereira too. Nico Price is a tough dude to just impose your will, and he definitely did a good job of that. So very surprised this didn't get a bonus, but again, we had a lot of great fights on here. So real quick, touch upon this: Max Griffin, Carlos Condit. Shout out Max Griffin getting a really hard fought victory over the legend Carlos Condit, who, I don't know about you, I thought he looked phenomenal in that fight.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I kind of thought is he looked a little slow, but I guess in comparison to Max Griffin, a lot of fighters would look slow. So, but other than that, I mean, super tough. Fought through some crazy adversity in the first round. Got knocked down. Got his leg completely picked apart. But I think he won the second round. He kind of came back in that second round, and then third. I forget what happened there that kind of sealed it for Max. I forget if did he get a takedown in that round and kind of sealed it?
Yeah, that was it.
The third round was pretty even up until that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Condit's been around forever. I mean, for him to be still competitive with some of the top guys in the UFC is it's crazy. But yeah, no, I thought he looked awesome especially for how long he's been at this game. And, a big win for Max Griffin. Looked really good in the first. Kind of faded a little bit throughout the fight, but still super competitive, still brought the fight, got it done, and not sealed the deal in the third round with the takedown. So really fun fight to watch.
Very fun. And obviously massive win for Max Griffin, but shout out natural born killer Carlos Condit, always putting, again, talking about Nico Price, Carlos Condit, when has he been in a boring fight? The guy is an absolute savage, like you said, been doing this for years now. So so what a great way to kind of headline the prelim card, taking us into the pay-per-view first fight. We had a fun one, ladies and gents. We had a bantamweight bout. Sugar Sean O'Malley taking on the UFC newcomer Chris Mutino, and I don't think anybody expected the outcome that we saw. I don't think the decision here does justice. Sean O'Malley getting it done via TKO with literally 30 seconds left in the fight does not tell the story of the fight. Chris Mutino just eating a record of punches to his head, kicks, whatever Sean O'Malley threw at this kid, he ate. Obviously, super fired up. This kid is a Boston born and bred, Milford, Massachusetts, gets the call on 11 days notice to fight one of the most hyped fighters right now in not only the bantamweight division, but the whole UFC. O'Malley has, he's great on the mic. He's obviously a killer in the octagon. And for him to go, I'd say all three rounds with O'Malley, who's someone who's an active fighter, someone who is working his way up into the, top 15, top 10 in the world of this bantamweight division, was one of the most impressive things. And I get the whole, he's got no defense angle, but the kid stepped in on the biggest card of the year in front of the largest crowd he's ever going to face in his entire life and put on a show and walked O'Malley down from the start to the finish of that fight until Herb Dean, I think, shouldn't have called that. I think we've seen people get beat up a lot worse. Calvin Kattar went all 5 rounds with Max Holloway. We saw Brian Ortega get beat up by Max Holloway. I feel like I've seen people get beat up a lot worse, and it hasn't been stopped. So break down this fight for me, man, because obviously this one's close to home. This kid is an absolute savage, and I'm hoping he gets more fights in the UFC here. So break down this fight.
Yeah, nobody gave Moutinho a chance in this fight. I mean, he's the newcomer coming in, just signed with the UFC. Didn't have a single fight with the UFC. Yeah, and then you have all that added pressure too of it's a Conor McGregor card, it's your first fight, and then you're fighting one of the biggest stars in the UFC right now. It was so many things stacked against him. It's insane that he performed the way that he did. Not only fighting in the UFC, that there's so many other factors. He was actually saying in one of the interviews that when they announced the fight, he had hundreds of DMs saying that he was going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine that, going from local promotions, fighting in front of a couple hundred people to a packed T-Mobile Stadium? I don't know. I just feel like that alone is a tough task. And then to go out and perform the way they did, it's crazy. He earned every bit of that $75,000 bonus. Technically, I think there are some things that he should change. His coach was screaming from the first round on for him to move his head, and he just wasn't doing it. But I think he kind of laid a blueprint to beat Sean O'Malley. He tied him out. He walked him down the entire fight. I think if he was able to mix in a takedown or, hang in the clinch, wear him down a little bit more when he did have him on the cage, could have been, he might not have gotten a win, but could have maybe won him around or something. But, could have made for a little bit of a different fight. But yeah, ton of respect to Moutinho, and Sean O'Malley looked great, did what he needed to do, landed at, I think they said like an 80%, when, most fighters, like, landing 40% is considered good. It's crazy. I mean, the amount of the one punch power that O'Malley has, and for Moutinho to take close to 200 of those, I don't know, crazy way to start the night.
Absolutely insane. If that was the first fight you saw all night, you were in for a treat. I mean, the kid, I forget who tweeted this. It was one of the big the journalist. He said, I don't think anyone was knocking out Moutinho that night. I don't care if you put in Francis Ngannou, right? Like, the kid, like him, like, that was like a movie, like him stepping in on the biggest fight card of his entire life in front of 30,000 people, the most celebrities ever in a UFC fight. No, like, although he got beat and, he got beat up, he did not stop moving forward. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, he would eat a head kick and then just start talking shit and walking O'Malley forward. And O'Malley said it. They asked what they were talking about in there. And he was like, this kid's calling me a bitch. He's calling me a pussy. Like, he's saying I'm getting tired. Like, you might be right. Maybe that's the blueprint. Walking O'Malley down, and like you said, we've seen him every time he gets in the octagon, he has a highlight reel knockout. And the fact that he couldn't put away, like, some of the combinations that he was throwing at this kid were absolutely filthy. Would have knocked out probably 98% of the bantamweight division, right? It was just crazy. And I think what sucks for O'Malley is I don't think people are talking about the record amount of punches that he thrown and how good he looked and you know, hitting at an 80% clip. They're talking about how tough this kid from Milford, Mass is. And my next question for you is, does this hurt the O'Malley brand? Like him with the viral knockouts, like he just took a guy on 11 days notice who's coming from the regional circuit, who's never been under the big lights like this before. Does this hurt his brand a little bit moving forward for him trying to get that big fight next? I know he called out Rob Font. I know he called out Cody, Dom Cruz, all these guys. Did he earn that next big fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, but you have to consider too, O'Malley, like anytime a pullout happens, he's also taking a new opponent on 11 days notice.
It's true.
Which I don't think he would have fought Moutinho any differently. But all the training and whatever, he's preparing for a certain opponent. And now he also has to switch up his game plan a little bit. And, you know, for him, I'm sure Moutinho was never even on his radar, you know, because the kid wasn't even signed to the UFC up until, you know, a little bit over a week ago. So I give O'Malley credit for that. And, you know, the performance itself, I mean, he looked so sharp. I don't know, did you watch the post-fight interview?
Yes.
At the very beginning, he couldn't open up his water bottle because I could tell his hands were really hurting him.
Yep.
Couldn't open up the water bottle. He put it down, and then he talked about how much his hands were hurting in the post-fight stuff. So, I mean, he was trying hard. You know, he was trying to get the knockout. And, you know, if Herb Dean let the 30 seconds that remained in the fight play out, I don't know. I mean, with how tough Moutinho was that entire fight, I don't know if he would have got the knockout, but it looked like O'Malley was starting to pour it on, and he was kind of getting into his flow and just landing with everything. So, but yeah, as for his next fight, I kind of like the Rob Font call-out because I think Rob is going to have to fight again because there's the title fight that's going to happen between Jan and Sterling. So that takes them two out of the equation. Sandhagen Dillashaw is going to happen. That takes them two out. You know, Garbrandt just lost.
Dom Cruz, who doesn't think he's going to fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Dom Cruz there.
Cheeto just won.
Yeah, Cheeto. Yeah, you know what? I think the one that makes the most sense, like the fight that I would really like to see, is Cheeto versus Font. Because I think with the way Cheeto's been fighting, I think he's right at the top. I don't know where he is in the rankings, but I would have to assume
he's sitting at number 6.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think...
I lied. Sorry, I lied. He's number 13. I lied. Wow.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, number 13.
I was going to say I would think top 5, but there's so many good guys in that division.
Yeah.
But yeah, before this fight, O'Malley wasn't even ranked. So, like, for him to, like, go and fight Font, who's... What is he? Number
3 in the world. That's why
yeah.
I get the call out because I think Font's going to be the only one without a dance partner, right? And he's like, I'm going to jump this whole line. But why would Font take that fight? I'm not saying it's obviously O'Malley's a dangerous fight for a lot of people. And Font's a stand-up fighter. Like I know why he picked Rob Font because he wants. I don't think he wants a wrestler right now. I think he wants to fight someone who's going to be willing to stand up, and Font's that guy that's going to stand and bang with Sean O'Malley. He did it with Cody Garbrandt. He made Cody Garbrandt shoot in for takedowns. And that just goes to show how good Font is on the feet. So I don't know. I would love to just see the Cheeto rematch. Like, I would love if the UFC just made that fight again, because there's so many unanswered questions there. It gets O'Malley into the top 15. I know it's not that big fight he's looking for. I just don't see any of these guys in the top 10 going to fight O'Malley. It's a dangerous fight for all of them. Why are they going to risk it for a guy that's not even ranked? Mm-hmm. That's a tough sell. But again, O'Malley's got that McGregor effect where, you know, Dana White's going to go to Rob Font and say, hey, Rob, we got this kid talking a lot. You know, you get a title shot if you beat him. You beat an unranked fighter. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to be hard to say no to that. But who knows? I think O'Malley's got a lot of say and stuff, and obviously he's got the fans behind him. And I think he could potentially work a Rob Font fight. I think that's the only fight he's going to get, or potentially a Cody fight, because I think there's some beef there. That would be a fun fight. Cody's still sitting in the top 5, and Cody needs a win badly. So I think, I don't know, maybe he'll go for it. So I'm curious, man. But like you said, this bantamweight division's stacked. We got Corey and TJ fighting in the next 2 weeks. Cannot wait for that one. And then obviously they got to rebook Jan Sterling. I literally can't wait. So obviously shout out Sean O'Malley, phenomenal performance. But I guess even bigger shout out Boston's own Chris Mutino, fighting for his life in there. Absolutely amazing. Fight of the night, these guys both got $75K, which was much deserved. So I'm excited to see the UFC newcomer get paid in his first fight. Awesome to see. I think he took home $10,000 to show as well. So he got a nice little payout in his first UFC fight. So fight of the night, shout out Sean O'Malley and Chris Mutino. Cool. And then real quick, Irene Aldana getting it done, defeating Yana Kunitskaya via TKO in the first round. Phenomenal performance. She looked amazing there. And then heavyweight fight, Tai Tuivasa taking on Greg Hardy. My God, we knew someone was getting knocked out in this fight. Tai Tuivasa just lighting up Greg Hardy with a punch from friggin' hell. Tai Tuivasa, just one of the most electric heavyweights. I don't think this kid has what it takes to be a champion, but my God, is he fun to watch. The post-fight antics with him just doing shoeies. He did like 6 in a row. We don't have to go too in-depth in this, but what'd you think about Tuivasa? Obviously, it didn't last very long. It was wild. He got rocked. Hardy gets rocked. He's on the floor. What'd you think about the fight and how Tuivasa looked after being, his career's been kind of like this, but the guy is so fun. He puts people's lights out every time he gets in there.
Yeah, we knew neither guy was going to go for a takedown. We knew they were going to swing and bang. So I was actually kind of surprised that Hardy caught him.
I was too.
First. But, Tuivasa he was, I don't know, he was kind of like on weak legs, but still landed that punch that just ended the show. Crazy. And the whole place went nuts. He grabbed the bear, the shoe, like while he's still in the octagon. Man, it was just fun to see. I mean, did you see the dude pour the hot sauce
Dustin?
In the bear. He just like he spit it out. He was like, "What the fuck is this?" But man, that post-fight interview. I mean, him doing all the shoeies, they're pouring beers from the stand, and he's just like standing under it. It was so fun to watch. It was wicked funny. But huge knockout. I mean, Hardy's legs just went stiff, just straightened out completely. I mean, he was out on the ground. There's no need for any follow-up shots. Good win for Tuivasa.
Yeah, like you said, absolute electric factory. The guy, every time he fights, his post-fight speeches are awesome. His antics are unbelievable. And the guy can knock people out dead. So I think a lot of people got satisfaction of Greg Hardy getting knocked out as well. I think a lot of people were happy. The guy gets booed every time he comes in the octagon. It's literally him versus the entire world when he gets in there. So you got to give him credit for continually stepping in with some of the best heavyweights in the world. Like I said, will Tai Tuivasa ever get his gold around his waist? I don't think so, but I don't think that's what he's doing this for. I think he's doing it to be the best heavyweight entertainer and just putting people's lights out. So shout out Tai Tuivasa. Thank you for just putting on an absolute show on the biggest card of the year, because that was absolutely insane. Co-main event time. I think one of the more disappointing fights on this card. One of the negatives, and I hate to say that because I love Gilbert Burns and I love Wonderboy Thompson. Literally two of the nicest guys on the roster, two of the most badass guys on the roster. Wasn't the fight I think we were expecting. And I was very surprised. I thought Wonderboy looked slow. I don't think he looked like himself. Gilbert Burns, I thought he looked great. Was it a dominant performance by any means? No. It was a very boring fight. And I hate saying that because I usually don't think fights are that boring. But man, I don't know what went wrong in this fight. I don't know if it was Wonderboy's lack of engagement or just Burns just being so hesitant to try to do anything because he thought he was going to get his head kicked off by Wonderboy. He got a couple takedowns on Thompson, which I thought was impressive because Thompson does have really good takedown defense. I think Tyron Woodley was like the only one that was able to ever take down Wonderboy. So obviously super impressive. Gilbert looked good. So I know he's called out some big names afterwards, like Diaz or whatever, and I think he definitely deserves a big fight. But what do you think of overall the performance? I know not a lot of people were happy with it, but Gilbert got his hand raised and he did win a unanimous decision. So
yeah, this is another one where it's grappler versus striker, and both on the highest levels. Like they were talking about Burns before the fight. I forget what jiu-jitsu tournament it was, but he took out one of the top guys in the world in jiu-jitsu pretty recently, and Thompson's just with his kickboxing and karate resume, he's world class at that. So I think it's kind of a case where the two of them are a little gun shy. Burns is afraid of the kicks and the strikes of Thompson, and Thompson was afraid of the ground game, and I think they were both really cautious of each other. And I think the difference maker was Burns getting the takedowns. I think the striking exchanges are pretty even. Thompson did have that one like heel kick that knocked down Burns, and that was one of like the more exciting parts of the fight, I thought. But then there were like some like goofy, like you see like them like both punching each other at the same time, like
we're on the cage. Yeah.
I mean that was just like, I don't know, they were just trying to like be active, and it didn't seem like, I don't know, I thought that was like silly. But Burns definitely won. And I think too the implications of this fight, Burns just fought for the title, lost. He's still right there. This win would take him back to being in that conversation. And Thompson being, I think he's 38 years old. Mm-hmm. This is going to be his last title run. So I think he also knew that this was a big one for him. And I don't know if it was his nerves or kind of got into his own head, and it just made him a little bit more cautious in the fight because he knew kind of what this meant for his career. But I think that's also an added factor for both guys.
Yeah, it was tough to see Wonderboy like that. Like after he got that knockdown, I was, super pumped. I thought this is where he was going to control the fight. And his style is just so tough to adapt to. But I thought Gilbert did a really good job utilizing those takedowns. And again, like you said, he's the highest level of, his ground game is just ridiculous. So Burns did what he needed to do to win. And it wasn't the most impressive win, but he just put it on Wonderboy, who you got to look at Wonderboy. He just, put away Vicente Luque. He just beat up on Jeff Neal. Like they're trying to make Wonderboy kind of the gatekeeper for this division. And he was like, oh, hell no. Like, I'm going to take out these young guns. Like he's still got it. Right. But Burns is still at the top of the division, like you said. And I'd love to see him get another big fight next. And then potentially, maybe we see that rematch with Usman down the line. He did knock down Usman. You got to give him some sort of credit, whether they want to say a knockdown, slipped, whatever it is. He knocked down Usman in that fight. I know he eventually got knocked out, but he looked good in that fight. You can't say that he didn't, right? So I know Burns called out like Nate Diaz after the fight. Love that. Literally love that fight. I think like obviously that's going to be, I mean, I know Nate Diaz fought, fought Leon, right? But I would love to see that fight. I think that's a badass fight. Both guys are ridiculous on the ground. I think it'll be, Nate's going to box him up. We'll see how how Gilbert survives that. I don't know. I love that call out, to be honest. He didn't call for a title fight again. He really didn't. Like, I respect the hell out of Gilbert for not saying after that one win, he's going back to fight for the belt. So that was awesome to see. So I don't know. We'll see what they do with Burns next. Wonder Boy, obviously, he's still a top 5 fighter in the world. We know he's gonna be back. I'm not gonna say he's gonna be better than ever. He's obviously getting up there in age, and I think with his style, you're definitely gonna see people slow down. Right? We've seen it with Anderson Silva. We've seen it before with guys like have that karate style, right? So wasn't the most exciting fight, but got to give Gilbert Burns his props. Hell of a fight. And obviously Wonder Boy, you're a legend. Looks like Gilbert Burns got that nicest motherfucker belt too. So, and then he also tweeted, he's like, I got the nicest motherfucker belt. Now it's time for the BMF belt. So I don't know, maybe that fight makes sense. Him and Jorge, I don't know. I think either of those two would be a banger. So co-main event, done deal. Let's get to the main event time. We had the trilogy, lightweight bout, Dustin Poirier taking on Conor McGregor, number 3. Dustin getting the better of Conor. In January, we got 6 months later, they're coming back, packed T-Mobile Arena. We had the old Conor back. We had the trash-talking Conor. Conor's bringing up Dustin's family, talking about his wife. It was just a crazy press conference overall. And then we get to the fight. Man, I don't think anyone expected this outcome. We had Conor McGregor just breaking his tibia, his shin in the end of round 1, seconds left to go. He ends up surviving. Like, it was weird because I don't know. Did you see it right away? For me, I thought it was a Dustin knockdown, and then he survived. And all of a sudden, I see his ankle to the side, and I'm like, what happened? Doctor stoppage. McGregor's going nuts. Poirier gets his hands raised on the TKO, doctor stoppage. McGregor's yelling at him. He's talking about his wife still. Rogan's interviewing him on the ground. It was just an absolute scene. I know the fight was short. It was only 1 round. Break down this fight for me. What did you think, obviously, of the injury and what was going through your head? And I know a lot of people, you got the people who say, like, Dustin didn't win. Conor broke his shin. And you got the other people that said Conor's washed. He was going to get his ass kicked anyway. So break down this first round for me and break down the fight, I guess, the lead up to everything and all that.
I thought Conor looked awesome when they, at the very beginning of the fight. I mean, he came out hot, came out really, really fast. His hands looked faster than ever. His kicks looked super sharp.
Yep.
But I thought he looked awesome for that first minute and a half, whatever it was, right before Dustin kind of got into a groove where he put Conor on his heels, landed some good shots. Then the guillotine happened, and mistake on Conor's part to fall to his back, just because they're both fresh. It's the first round. I gotta believe that he also knew that he probably wasn't going to submit Dustin with that, especially with where he was. I mean, if he stayed standing, maybe, because he did have it pretty deep. But when he fell to his back, the way they were, Dustin was able to work with the cage. Conor was kind of in an awkward position where he couldn't move around too much. And eventually Dustin was able to get out, landed some crazy ground and pound. And I don't, because Conor was pulling at his gloves and doing the up kicks, Dustin let him up, and then that's when the break happened, which that it's becoming like a more and more common thing in the sport. And with how hard these guys kick, especially Conor, like those kicks were, he spun Dustin around with one of those like outside of the knee kicks that he does. Spun him around at the very beginning of the fight. I mean, he's thrown those things with some vicious intent. So it makes sense that, you know, if he had a little fracture or whatever, that the bone's just gonna snap eventually when you're throwing it that hard. But yeah, a little disappointing. Definitely like to see a more definite ending to a trilogy fight. You know, so someone gets injured, but I don't know. That's the way it goes. And you know, they both. Conor definitely wants to fight back, wants to run it back for number 4. And I was actually surprised to see that Dustin was in for it as well. I would have thought, you know, if I was in Dustin's shoes, go fight for the title, and Conor's going to have to work his way to get back there. If that fight happens, if he gets a win, beats, you know, Chandler or Gaethje or someone at the top of the division and makes his way back to the top and can get that title fight, then let him have it. But Dustin seemed super open to running this one back no matter what.
Yeah, it was like you said. I mean, me and you were texting back and forth. It was unfortunate. That's not how you want to see a Conor McGregor fight, and you never want to see someone go out like that. And, you know, obviously a lot of bad blood going into this, which was like so different than the second fight, which was nuts. But I think Poirier realized that he is not going to make the money fighting anyone else, and I think he knows that Conor had an out in that fight. And a lot of people, like I said before, are questioning, did Conor break his shin or did Dustin beat the shit out of him? And I think Conor went onto his Instagram live the next day and he had no scratches on his face. He didn't have one mark. And he was making fun of people being like, oh, the ground and pound, he was done after round 1. Like, and I don't know, like it kind of, as a fan, this is what Conor does. He intrigues people. And now I'm thinking to myself, yeah, he had Conor in a lot of trouble with the ground and pound. And now I look at him the next day and he doesn't have a mark on his face other than his ear, right? So that intrigues me to want to see that. And 100% you're right. Dustin needs to fight Oliveira for the title. That's not even a question. Dustin has one of the most impressive resumes I've ever seen in an entire career. His last, I think they said over the last 4 years, Dustin he beat Jim Miller, Anthony Pettis, Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, Max Holloway, Dan Hooker, and Conor McGregor twice. That's, aside from John Jones, that's got to be the best. I know it's not a streak because he lost to Khabib in there, but probably the best run ever, right? Taking on, I mean, you got to think like Pettis, former champion, Alvarez, former champion, Holloway, former champion, like, and then McGregor, former champion twice. So impressive. I also think Dustin knows that he got paid on Saturday night, and as much as that belt is in sights for him, which I think he beats up Oliveira, I really believe that. Dustin's just that good. I think he knows that he's going to fight for this belt, win it, and then he's going to fight Conor a 4th time for the belt. And he's like, I'm going to win the belt and then also beat Conor McGregor for a 3rd time. And he's a smart dude. I think he got his 20th UFC win. He's put in his time. I think he's fighting for more than just the belt. Now, I know he's going to get it because he's next in line, but I also think he understands the Conor McGregor fight is the money fight, and he's finally starting to realize that. So, but I agree with you. I was a little like, I can't believe he just said he's open to fighting a 4th time when like he's got Charles Oliveira like right in the stands. Like, you know what I mean? It's going to piss a lot of people off, but Conor McGregor is going to jump the entire line and fight Dustin if he wins again. If he wins the belt, he's going to jump the line. So crazy. So I guess for you, you know, we know we said Conor looked good. Do you believe, let's just say hypotheticals here. And I know you can't really talk about it, but it's like, if he didn't break his shin, how did you see the rest of the fight going? Just based on what you saw, like, obviously, he jumped the Gilly. That was pretty stupid. Like, let's say they kept this standing. What do you think the fate of that fight would have been?
I mean, you got to start the 2nd round back on the feet. As crazy of a pace as it was, Dustin looked pretty fresh walking back to his corner.
Yep.
I thought Conor even looked kind of fresh. You know, we always talk about his conditioning problems, but you know, who knows how that second round would have went. You know, Dustin was definitely getting into a groove though when it came to the striking exchanges. He did eat good left hand, took a lot of good kicks off the leg. But I think Dustin landed some of the more significant shots
I agree.
when you look at the overall, not including the ground and pound, but back Conor up pretty good in that exchange. So I don't know. I mean, I would think Conor would not go back to the ground. You know, if it did come to a clinch war, if he did get the guillotine, not fall to his back. I don't know. I mean, both of them had moments. Just going off that first round on how they both were on their feet. I think it was fairly even. The only thing that separated it was that the ground and pound at the end of the round, and so Dustin took it. But I don't know. I really don't know. Everyone's talking about Conor McGregor saying he's washed up. I think he looked fast and as sharp as ever. Like he was moving through different stances. He just seemed like he was flowing. And the falling to the back with the guillotine was just a mistake.
I couldn't agree more. I thought he looked phenomenal, man. I thought we saw the old fluid Conor in the karate stance, and we saw like the craziness where he's coming out and starting off with like a spinning heel hook, right? That pushed Dustin back. He was kind of like, oh shit. Like he did that in his very first fight with Dustin. Like that was amazing to see. I agree, man. I think I'm not saying if he didn't jump to Gilly because like I think he just honestly saw an opportunity to be like, holy shit, like I mean, like you said, I don't think he thought he could submit Dustin, but I feel like it was too good for him not to do it. And I think people would have criticized if he didn't jump it. You know what I mean? But I think seeing Conor McGregor on the ground is just like a weird experience anyway. But I thought he looked good. I mean, the fact that he's still talking shit with his shin broken in half, it's got to show you that he had shit left in the tank. He was ready to go, right? But obviously Dustin looked great. You know, Dustin took those kicks pretty well. Like you said, he spun him around a couple times. You know, Conor hit him with clean shots. He hit him with significant shots. I agree with you. Dustin had the more powerful shots in those couple exchanges, right? But Dustin's a dude. It's going to be tough to put that guy away right now. He's at the top of the game. Now he's making the money he deserves. I don't see anyone stopping Dustin. I think he's going to beat Charles Oliveira very convincingly. I think Dustin's just that good and he has that much momentum right now. As good as Charles Oliveira is, I see Dustin getting his hand raised in that fight. I'm hoping it's, you know, in the fall towards the end of the year. I need to see that fight. I would love to see Dustin touch gold. But overall, obviously just an absolute wild main event. Conor just yelling obscenities in the octagon while he's literally has his shin shattered in half. Like it was crazy. Obviously, hopefully for a speed recovery for Conor McGregor. There's a lot of people out there trashing him and laughing at him that he broke his shin, like literally insane. The guy transcended the sport. And obviously a lot of talk about the trash talk, and you probably shouldn't go at anyone's family like that. I completely get that. But you never kick a man while he's down like that. So it was a great fight, not the ending that we wanted. I thought it was a wild first round. You love to see first rounds like that, but damn, I wish that didn't happen. I wanted to see a 5-round war. I wanted to see just fight of the year candidate, fight of the century, but it is what it is. Conor will be back. Obviously, Conor's not going to take a fight in between. I truly believe Conor's going to be next in line for the belt if Dustin wins. I think if Oliveira wins, they're going to make the Diaz trilogy. That's what I think, because they're not going to skip the line for Oliveira. They'll skip the line if Dustin wins, because that would break all the records, because Dustin has the belt and now it gives Conor the opportunity to win the belt again and fight Dustin for a fourth time. I mean, sign me up. I don't care. People trash us. I don't care. if you don't want to see that fight again, you're absolutely crazy, because that was the perfect scenario for McGregor. Kind of like a what if he didn't break his shin? Now people are wondering, he looked good in the first round. Yeah, he did the takedown, whatever. The ground and pound really didn't do anything to him. It showed his face. He doesn't even have a black eye, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
He busted open his ear a little bit, and that was it. So if it makes me a casual, it makes me a casual. I want to see the fourth fight. I could care less what anyone says. The guy is so entertaining when he walks into that octagon. So is Dustin. Who wouldn't want to see that fourth fight again? So we'll see. I'm super excited to see Dustin versus Charles Oliveira. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Dustin takes that. So I'm excited to see when that gets booked for. Oliveira said he's down. So I'm friggin' ready. But UFC 264, absolute banger of a card. Dana White, thank you again for coming to Vegas, putting on an absolute show. We have so many good fights coming up within the next couple weeks. I literally can't wait to watch all of them. What do we have next week? And I believe we have Islam Makhachev taking on Thiago Moises. Great fight. Let's see what Islam Makhachev's made of. He's got Khabib going. This is his chance to work his way up the ranks here. I am fired up to see what this kid can do. And then in 2 weeks, the big boy, Corey Sandhagen, taking on DJ Dillashaw, coming off suspension. Man, I can't wait to preview these cards. So, guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this video. Subscribe to all our videos. Shoot us a like. Go to our Instagram. Thank you for all the likes, all this, you guys supporting us through all the fight cards. We're trying to put out the best content humanly possible here. Go to our Facebook, Instagram. Go like our stuff. Share our stuff. Do what you need to do. Go to www.flatlinemma.com. Go buy some merch. Rock some Flatline gear this summer. And until next time, Flatline MMA. Peace.